皆さん、こんにちは。はじめまして。G さんです。よろしくお願いします。Good morning, everybody. Today I want to talk about one of the most important hurdle to overcome if you want to learn a language, any language, not just Japanese. And I know this hurdle is incredibly difficult to overcome for most beginners, and it happens to everybody. So don't feel bad if the same thing happens to you. What is the hurdle you need to overcome in language learning? It is the one simple thing. It's your mindset, which is, I'm not speaking perfectly. I'm not good enough. I'm making mistakes. People are going to laugh at me, etc., etc. This is called self-doubt. This is also called self-sabotage, because we have learned from early on, from school time, that we get punished for mistakes. And in reality, the only way to learn a language well is by making as many mistakes as you possibly can. Absolutely possibly can. It goes a bit like this. It takes probably, my guess conservatively, about 2,000 hours for somebody of average IQ to become proficient in Japanese in speaking terms. If someone's really, really good, you want to speed run this whole thing, maybe it takes 500 hours to 800 hours. That's probably the absolute minimum. However, how do you spend that 500 to 1,000 hours? If you spend that time just by silently listening to something or write something on a paper, no output, only input, I promise you, you won't be good. I absolutely promise you that. So instead, that amount of time, the first 500 hours of your time spent with a new language should be spent exclusively on making as many mistakes as you can. Look at it this way. Mistakes you make in learning language is similar to free credit you can get from a credit card company. Imagine, what if I tell you, you get a credit card for the first 3 months of owning this credit card. Anything you spend the credit card on is free of charge. It's on the house. You can buy whatever you want. You can buy as much as you want. That's the condition. After the first 3 months, however, you have to pay for whatever you spend money on. So imagine that is the deal to you. What would you behave? What will be your behavior? Very predictably, you're going to spend as much as possibly can in the first 3 months, right? Recklessly spending, because you're not paying the price for it. And the same thing goes for language learning. In the first 500 hours, I dare to say, you have the freedom, literally, and the permission by the society as well, to make as many mistakes as you possibly can, and you can get away scot-free. Let's say, for example, if you listen to my introduction, I learned that over the last few days. I started learning Japanese 20 days ago, and I'm making millions of mistakes every day by myself. But I wish I have someone with me who I can make my mistakes too. So I'm basically spending the free mistakes on someone else. I wish someone would do that with me. I don't have anybody right now practicing Japanese with me. Not yet. That's okay. But I can do internet output. So all the mistakes I make today, right now, in the first 500 to first 1,000 hours, is considered free of charge. Because imagine I meet somebody who is a native speaker. Imagine, let's say it this way. Let's give the worst case scenario from us as a man perspective. I'm a guy, you're a guy, I made this podcast for men. So let's imagine you go to Japan, you meet the most beautiful Japanese woman of all time. You're absolutely in love with her. You got two choices. You speak to her in English, and she will speak broken English back to you, or you speak absolutely horrendous Japanese to her the whole time and make tons of mistakes in the process. What do you think the outcome will be? Take a wild guess. In which combination is more likely for you to win the heart of the lady? I'm just giving you a wild guess. See if you can come up with the answer. And here's the surprise for a lot of people. If you speak absolutely broken, horrendous Japanese to that beautiful Japanese girl. Do you know what you're actually demonstrating? You're demonstrating a lot of abilities that women look for in a man. A lot of them. Willingness to learn, willingness to adapt, willingness to change, willingness to hand over the lead. Because when you don't speak the language that well, she will help you. Willingness to show vulnerability. That's literally one of the best way to show masculine vulnerability. Let's call it that way. So, personally, in my lifetime, I dated countless women based on language learning alone. Every time I spoke the language absolutely in horrendous situation, as in barely any whatsoever. And no exception to the rule. Every single time it comes over as positive. And why I talk about language learning in combination with dating with a gay girl, because women are the most harsh critics of everybody around them. They have the guards up. And you know how hard it is to date a girl, right, as a man. And if your mistakes in a language is easily forgiven by a beautiful woman, trust me, your mistakes is also easily forgiven by your peers, by other men. Because other men actually admire you for your perseverance. See, I don't get all my English correct. So, the number one obstacle you have is the hesitation start speaking. You think you must get everything perfect before you can start saying something to a stranger. That is literally the furthest thing from the truth. In the first 500 to 1,000 hours learning a language, as long as you make it clear to the other person, you just started learning. Learning Japanese, to say things like, I speak a little bit Japanese, things like that. And they understand you are just beginner. That changed everything. When people can see you are trying your best to learn a new language, that is not the easiest one in the world to learn, that is always a bonus. And that's the equivalent of somebody giving you a credit card, a social credit card. Let's call it that way. Let's call language learning a social credit card with no payback needed for the first 1 year. So with this social credit card, you can just spend wildly wherever you go. Yeah, go to Spain, speak Spanish locally to the people. Trust me, you're going to come across as someone who is positive. Nobody in the world has ever said another person, oh, you stupid idiot learning my language. No. Nobody ever says that. Think about how you think about it. Imagine you are somebody, let's say you are living in a country that speaks one of the most difficult languages in the world, Finland, for example. If you have somebody from Finland, you meet someone who could easily speak English to you, but he chooses to speak broken Finnish to you. And then in the conversation, you realize he just started learning Finnish. Do you despise the person or do you have respect for the person? I've never come across a person who disrespected me for speaking broken Finnish. Yeah, that's a simple truth. That's a simple truth. So use this language learning as a credit card that has no payback terms. First 1 year is free spending. Free spending. Think from that perspective. If you have been given a credit card that don't need the payback for the first few months or year, wouldn't you go out and spend as much as you can? Same thing with language learning. Your first year learning a language is the 1 year where everybody will forgive you for your mistakes. The same thing won't happen later on. If you tell people you've been 3 years into study, 5 years into study Japanese, and yet your pitch accent or intonation is not right, then there is a problem with you. Then people won't look at you that nicely. Yes. Yeah. So first year, go out, make as many mistakes as possible. If you don't know what else to do to make those mistakes, do what I do here. Post your speech patterns online on YouTube. Particularly start a brand new channel where nobody's watching anyway. I don't expect anybody actually to watch me. This channel primarily was made to teach my son how to learn a language, how to adapt to a new culture and things like that, and hopefully helping other men in the process. And if nobody ever watched my video, I'm fine with it. Here's the thing. You have only 1 year. The first year is everything. In the first year, make as many mistakes as you can. You don't have a second first year ever in your life. So take this as a good advice from somebody who has learned many, many languages in his life and mastered 5 languages. And let me just tell you, this is one of the shortcuts, mental shortcuts you need to learn before you become successful with your language learning journey. And true to my spirit, I'm going to attach the audio sample I made today from reading or from shadowing a new dude that I just found. He's pretty good. And I've shadowed him for a couple of minutes as a sample for myself. I've never read that material before. I don't have a book. I only just finished today learning katakana. I have not even learned hiragana yet. But I was just shadowing him based on his voice. And this is the result. Take a listen. Thank you very much. Enjoy your learning journey. Matane. Would that be any better? Would this be better? Let's try again. Right now it's music playing. I'll just do it without a stop. こんにちは。日本語講師をしです。元気ですか？今日は沖縄について話そうと思います。沖縄は日本の南に島ですね。まあ小さい島ですね。日本には大きい島が4つあります。北海道、本州、四国、九州ですね。この4つの島から沖縄に行くためには飛行機で行かなければしばらくで。I got that one wrong. 沖縄は本当に南にあるで、一年中暑いです。まあ、一年中暑いです。だから、冬をあまり寒くするですよ。沖縄にはたくさん小さい島です。一番大きい島は那覇と言います。私も那覇に赤とがあります。大きい町でたくさん居酒屋やバーがありますね。あと、沖縄にはアメリカ軍基地もいます。だから、アメリカ人もたくさん住んでます。よりもとてもにぎやかです。沖縄のたくさん小さい島がいて、ビーチ、本当に綺麗ですね。I'll stop here.